Hi, it's me again. I haven't done one for a while. I thought I've been doing a little bit of study, and I thought I'd do another Age of the Earth one. So about the age of the Earth. I think it's good to weigh up evidences like how old is the Earth. You know, doesn't have a big clock on or anything. You can't really tell. It hasn't got a date stamp or anything. So we have to use various methods to try and work it out. So I thought I'd do an interesting one on, I thought would be interesting on the age of the Earth. Um, okay, well, I guess why age of the Earth is such an important topic is when Charles Lyell came up with the geological timescales using the sedimentary layers, he gave evolutionists the time they needed. Okay, for evolution to be true, evolution, evolutionists need long periods of time, obviously. Okay, no one's going to believe a princess kisses a frog and it turns into a prince. No one's going to believe that story. It's fairy tale. But if you chuck a wave of magic wand of a billion, few billion years, the story somehow becomes believable. Okay, so the magic formula has for evolutionists they require long ages of billions of years for anything to actually be apparently plausible. Okay, whether that's scientific or not doesn't seem to make any difference. Okay, but yeah, it's about mutational changes. So I guess if they think it's feasible with small changes over a long period of time, then yeah, gradually there'll be a big changes occur. Okay, so that's their theory. Geology needs it, so it follows a process called uniformitarianism. I'm useless at names like that. Anyway, it follows a um, a concept that, as Charles Lyell I think put it, something like, as things have occurred in the past, so they shall be. Oh no, that's right. The key to the past is the present. That's the one. Yeah, it was one of them. Anyway, I've got too many things going around in my head. Okay, so it's slow, gradual processes for geology. Okay, they need long billions of years and to get their sedimentary rock layer stuff working. Astrology needs it. Okay, if it's got the Big Bang, it's we can't believe the Big Bang happened 1,000 years ago or anything silly, or 5,000 or 10,000. Um, for stellar evolution theory, um, they believe, they need it. Planetary evolution, long periods of time, it's needed there as well. Biology, obviously animal evolution. Now you got to think. Remember, biology believes that we came from rocks. Okay, you got to remember that. When you believe that we've come from monkeys, that's not the actual whole thing about evolution. It's you have to believe you came from a rock. Okay, that you came from an ebonite. Oh, yeah, I'm useless at words. Okay, came from yeah, something that had no life in it, non-living to becoming living. Okay, that's kind of what you've got to believe. It's a bit of a stretch, but that's what they want you to believe. Okay, yeah, without long timescales, evolution can't happen, can't work. Uh, it is not feasible to anyone's brain, and no one will believe it. So I thought, let's do something on the age of the Earth. Geology actually proposed it, the long ages of the Earth. They're the ones who came up with the idea. So it came from the geology strand. Um, Using the rock layers was their theory. Billions and millions of years, okay? Through them layers, sedimentary layers, which of course Christians say is laid down by the flood, global flood. Or at least the fossil record is, and the fossil record accounts for 500 million years or something of the sedimentary layers, so it's a big time frame. Okay. Um, okay, here's some interesting facts. Okay, if the just for instance, if the sedimentary layer theory was right, and it took thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years for the sedimentary layers to be laid down, and then you get the fossilization happening, and the coal and the all sorts of stuff like that, oil. Well, finding petrified trees that go through sedimentary layers is a problem for their theory if the sedimentary layers are indeed old ages. Okay, and that's what they found. They found lots of petrified trees, in fact thousands of them. And they go through proposed thousands of years of layers, okay, and basically different rock layers. In fact, they've even got trees. I was going to put a picture up of one. They've even got trees that have go through coal seams, multiple coal seams. Okay, now that's really throws a spanner in the works for ages of sedimentary layers, evolutionists ages, that is. Okay. See, it's impossible that a tree could be standing for that length of time. In fact, they've found that the bottom of the tree was coalified, the middle was petrified, and the top went for another coal seam. It was coalified as well. So astonishing stuff. I reckon that would, if that doesn't make you question the sedimentary layer theory, I don't think anything will. Okay, it's like finding a Coke can or something, you know, in the hand of a dinosaur. Okay, it's ridiculous. Okay, should fully give you questions there. Okay, there's other things you might not have heard or studied because they don't generally want to promote this sort of stuff. 90% of dating methods that can be used in the world actually indicate ages that are far younger than what evolutionists need. Okay, so we're talking 90%. For evolutionists' timescale to work, they need lots of time. Okay, and we're talking only 10% of the ones that are out there are used in time dates will fit the long age model that evolutionists need. 90% don't. Okay, so here's some maybe food for thought. Oh my goodness, it's terrible tonight. Okay, if we use the same assumptions, let's use the same assumptions that evolutionists used for like geology, called uniformitarianism. Oh, I nearly got it. The following show, okay, a younger Earth than evolutionists need for their theory to be true. Okay, so here's a few interesting dating methods that, and using the same assumptions that the evolutionists use. Okay, so I'll throw a few out there. Helium. Here's an interesting fact. Helium amounts in the atmosphere from radioactive decay. So what we're talking about is how old is the atmosphere? Okay, so if we measure helium amounts, that's an interesting one. Okay, escaping from the Earth's crust every year, or every second actually, 67 grams a second helium. Okay, it's there's 3.71 billion tons of helium in the atmosphere. I'm reading my notes because I can't remember most of it. Most of it's produced by radioactive decay. Science says the accumulation of helium in the atmosphere can only account for 2 million years old at that rate. Okay, that's scientific observation. Okay, when I say science says that, I'm talking scientific measures say that. But evolutionists unfortunately need 4.5 billion years. Okay, so that's helium in the atmosphere is one rate using uniformitarianism. Okay, the key to the past is the present. Okay, so using these same assumptions, evolutionists can't account for the helium problem. Okay, we'll go down to supernovas. Supernovas. Okay, there are in 1054 AD, the Crab Nebula boom, blew up. Okay, and they said they could see it even in the daytime. It was so bright. Um, Apparently there are 3 phases. I'm not an expert in this area, so this is just from studies. There's 3 phases to a supernova. First, and they actually theoretically predict the stages, what will happen. Okay, theoretically. Okay. So there's 3 remnant stages: first stage, second stage, third stage. It's all based on time. The number of supernovas predicted, okay, at the first stage, using the billions of years old table, there's predicted to be about 2. Okay, there should be about 2 observable. Okay, using the 7,000-year-old Earth model, how many predicted? About 2. Okay, actually observed, there's been about 5. Okay, so first stage supernovas, there's been about 5 observed, and 2 and 2, not really much difference between the billions of years, what it's expected theoretically, and the young Earth 7,000-year model. If we go to the second stage supernova, there's a big difference here. Predicted by the evolutionists, the billion years old theory, 2,260 predicted. Predicted by the 7,000-year model should be about 125, and actual observed around 200. So the observation, scientific observation, fits quite nicely with the 7,000-year model at this stage. Okay. Supernova remnant stage 3. The billions of year theory is 5,000 predicted because of the age, obviously. They expect at least 5,000. 1,000-year prediction model predicts none. Nothing's old enough for it to have got to that stage yet. And the actual observed is none. Okay, so again, observation, scientific observation, the model, the evidence points to a young universe based on supernova remnant stages. Okay, so that's a big problem for people, I guess, if they probably don't know why. Okay, and they're probably struggling, but it's obvious the model's wrong. They're using the wrong model. Okay, so we'll go down to Earth's magnetic field. Now this is an interesting one. The Earth's magnetic field. The magnetic field is decaying at about 5% per century, which doesn't seem very much, but per century it adds up quickly. Even in the thousands of years bracket, that's quite significant. In the year 1000, the field, this is by who worked this out? Oh, some scientific branch anyway. Was it paleontology? No, it was archaeology. I worked this out at at year 1000, the magnetic field was 40% stronger than it is today. So that's quite a big significant strength. And in the last 150 years, since I've been gauging it, it's lost 10% strength. So that's quite a significant amount. The field seems to be losing more rapidly now, speeding up. Okay, it's lost. The field is generated by how is the electricity field generated? You might not know this. It's actually generated by electricity going through the Earth. It's to do with the core and that. Okay. The Earth cannot be more than 10,000 years old based on our electromagnetic field. Okay. Now, why? There's several reasons. if it's been decreasing at the rate, even if we're really optimistic about, and it hasn't been a steady rate of decay, it's been slow. Okay, even if we're really conservative, it still can't really be older than 10,000 years, or say we'll double that, 20,000 years. Okay, just double it, no problems, because they've had estimates on that as well. Okay, they've gone up to 25,000 years, just to, you know, say, hey, what about if we made it maximum 25,000 years, like doubled the rates. There's some big issues with it. Okay, one is at 10,000 years, the heat from the electricity needed to generate the magnetic field would have melted the Earth. Okay, so that's a big problem. That's only at 10,000 years. Okay, so the magnetic field, the amount of energy needed to maintain it back then would have been melted. It would have been so strong just 10,000 years ago, the Earth would have melted. Okay, maximum age estimates. Okay, this is, they try to like stretch out as much as they can. 25,000 years, according to Donald DeYoung. Okay, some guy. Anyway, it's if they really stretched it out, they could get it to 25,000. But there's a big problem. What this does is actually this affects carbon dating as well. Okay, it stuffs carbon dating. Basically means carbon dating can't actually do its method more than a few thousand years because of these issues. Okay, so you wanna study a little bit more on why this stuff happens, so I don't go into too much detail. Let's go jump topics. So magnetic field. People say, oh yeah, well, it's reversing and all that. Actually, the reversing, magnetic field reversing, actually makes it a worse problem for evolutionists. Okay, so it's not it doesn't solve it, it makes it worse. So we'll go next one. Some other interesting ones. Okay, what about the population of the actual Earth? Now, there's some real huge problems for evolutionists just based on our man's population. Okay, currently our population growth is about 1.7%. For every 100 million people, 1,700,000 I think it's something like that added every year. Okay. There's about nearly 7 billion. We'll say 6 to 7 billion people currently alive. To get 6 billion people, okay, say you believe in the Noah's flood 4,000 years ago, roughly. Okay, so we go back to Jesus about 2,000 years, and we jump back to the flood roughly another 2,000 plus a little bit years. Okay, so we go 4,400 or something like that. Oh. The Earth, going by the Bible's rate, is something like 409 BC, I think it is. Is that right? 409 BC? Yeah, something like that. I think that's Ursula. Ursula made that one. Anyway, if we go back to the flood, so this is, oh, I used to know these off by heart. Anyway, we go back to the flood, roughly 4,000 years ago. 4,400, I think it is, years ago. We have Noah and the 8 people getting off the ark. Okay, and a lot of people say, well, how can 8 people populate the Earth in this time frame from Noah's time to now? How how is that possible? Okay, so but going by basic estimates, this is pretty easy. 8 people, 4,500 years ago. You need only a 0.5% growth rate. Okay, so it's actually very achievable. Ours is currently 1.7. So if we go cut it to just a 0.5%, it's very achievable. Okay, evolutionists say though we've been around at least 1 million years. Okay, now here's where things get real sticky for them. Okay, we've been around for 1 million years. Okay, we apparently evolved maybe 3 million to 1 million years ago. You know, everyone's a little bit hazy because they keep finding different scales. But anyway, with the population growth of just 0.01%, and not even a percent, not even 0.5%, nothing like that, 0.01% population growth, in 1 million years, okay, there would be 10 to the power of 43 people alive today. So that's 10 with 40. Oh, actually, it's 10 with 43 zeros after it. So that's a huge number. Okay, so here's a big problem. Way too many people. There would be way too many people if we were around 1 million years. Even at the slowest growth rates they can come up with, we're still way. Okay. If people have been around for over 1 million years, there would be 150,000 people per square inch on the planet. Okay, so where are all the people? You might be thinking, where the hell is everyone? There's a big problem for evolutionists. We don't really have a population, or even close to the population. Now, what about the bodies? What about if there was people and they've been buried or something? Okay, so let's have a look at that. Okay, if we evolutionists say the Stone Age, for instance, lasted 100,000 years. Now, so it lasted 100,000 years. Now, Christians believe it lasted for a few years after the probably Tower of Babel, when they all split up and they all went their way. Different people would have been going, oh, I don't know how to I don't know how to make a house, so they would have just found a cave to live in. So that would have been the caveman times. People living in caves because they couldn't build a house when the nation split at Babel, okay, after the flood. So they reckon it was for years, not for like 100,000 or anything. Okay, but anyway, the evolutionists say, 100,000 years, yes, 100,000 years is a good claim. Okay, if there was 1 million people on the planet at the time during that 100,000 years, say there's a lower estimate of 1 million, they think there could have been up to 10 million people on the planet at the time, over that period of time, population of that 100,000 years. If there was fossil, at that time they believe fossil evidence is they buried their bodies, okay, and they buried the artifacts with them as well. Well, with 1 million, just going lower estimate, 1 million living on the planet over that 100,000 year Stone Age time, average generation span will go really low, 25 years. Okay, I'm trying to be fair, evolutionists. Okay, so we'll go there. There should be about 4 billion bodies. Okay, 4 billion just for that period alone. So that's ridiculous. And their artifacts. So where the hell are all their graves? Okay, ask evolution that. Where are all the bodies of all the people apparently who have died? Where are they? If there was 10 million at the population on the Earth in the Stone Age, there should be about 40 billion bodies somewhere. Maybe they had a mass grave. Okay. Yeah. Where is all the evidence? Where is all the bodies? That's something. It's sort of crazy when you start looking at these figures and you go, evolutionists, what were you thinking? Coming up with these weird ideas. Okay. So what are some flaws to this whole age of the Earth? What are some things, what would really shake your belief, apart from a tree going through multiple sedimentary layers? I mean, that is a real dead giveaway for me. But, say, they believe, dinosaurs died out 60 to 70 million years ago, or something like that. Okay? Now, Christians believe they probably drowned in the flood, most of them. Okay? The ones that went on the ark. They would have just died in the flood, okay, and got buried, and that's why we dig them up as fossils. So it's a pretty different contrast, okay? A year of the flood making all the sedimentary layers, accounting for hundreds of millions of years in 1 year of a flood, or the evolutionists, millions of years old dinosaurs, okay? So let's go 70 million years ago, they all died off, these, apparently, dinosaurs. Okay, well, what happens if they found dinosaurs today? Like, real ones, good ones, nothing wrong. Will that throw your evolutionary theory? It might. Well, they've found something pretty much as good, nearly as good. They've found unfossilized dinosaur bones. Okay, and they've found not just one or two, they've found thousands of them. Unfossilized dinosaur bones. So they claim 70 million years ago, and these are unfossilized. Now that's pretty much impossible, okay? Thousands of bones were found, and they were lacking any significant. Okay, they were lacking any significant degree of mineralization, like fossilization. Okay. In fact, they've found unfossilized T-Rex bones was discovered, and they've actually got the red blood cells still in them. They found the blood cells in the bones. Okay. This lady, Mary Schwartz-Tinazur, anyway, discovered other unfossilized T-Rex bones, and they had blood vessels even. Okay, so that there is a big spanner in the works, because seriously, how can they survive 70 million years, okay? So there's been a lot of these finds. There's recent discoveries of dinosaur bones with unfossilized, with blood, etc., etc., and even tissue. Been around. Now that is a big discrepancy, okay, in the date theories. There. It's a huge one. That should shake your world if you're an evolutionist. If it doesn't, then probably nothing will, because you probably don't actually believe evolution. You probably just believe it like a religion, okay? So it's like evolutionists often say, well, what would shake a Christian's belief? What can we do? Find an alien on a planet or something? How can we disprove this Bible because you guys believe it, religiously? Same thing for evolutionists. I found evolutionists don't really believe evolution, I don't think. I think they just want to believe it so badly that it doesn't matter what you give them, they're going to believe that crap no matter what. Okay? So anyway, there's a few problems. Unfossilized dinosaurs. What about the orbit of the moon? Let's have a look at the lunar dating methods. Okay. Okay, the moon's moving away from the Earth 4 centimeters a year. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but over time it does actually add up. Evolutionists, remember, need the moon to be 4.5 billion years old. Okay, there's a few issues here. Science, basically, if you use a scientific rate based on our 4 centimeter a year, same thing, the same assumption is what evolutionists use. They can't account for more than a billion years. Well, it's actually 1.37 billion to be exact. That's using observational science, okay? Yeah, that's a big flaw. That's a big problem. Now, I don't believe that it's 1.37 billion years old. I'm just saying these are dating methods that contradict the evolutionist time frame, what they need for their theory. Okay? So, it doesn't fit the Christians one either, but we're using assumptions here. And we're using the same assumptions evolution tries to use to promote their theory. Okay? And I'm just showing, using the same assumptions, same observations, and dating methods in the world, 90% of dating methods do not fit the evolutionary time frame. Okay? So it fails. I personally don't believe the moon is like 1.37 billion years old. Okay? Not at all. I need 7,000. We need the Bible has to be in the thousands of years bracket, so you have to like go, wow. Okay, so how you do that? Okay, anyway, moon orbit. What about the Earth's rotation? Now, Earth's rotation is an interesting one. The Earth's slowing down. Its rotation is slowing down. By 1,000th of a second every day. Now that it might not seem like much, but that really adds up hugely, and its effects actually are quite amazing. The spinning of the Earth causes the Coriolis is it effect? Oh shoot. Anyway, the wind stuff. The winds. Okay. I can't say it. I hate getting words like that wrong. Anyway, the planet spinning basically causes the winds. Okay. Now, if it's been slowing down, and will be just it's slowing down at a constant rate, like the key to the past is the present, so we'll say it's constant. Then it must have been spinning faster in the past. Okay, it can't spin too fast, obviously, to sustain life. Okay, there is actually just a maximum speed. If it's going like evolutionists believe, the age of the Earth, the actual winds on the planet would have been over 5,000 miles per hour. Okay, so the dinosaurs might have become extinct because they all got blown off the planet. Okay, it can't be that old based on the speed, the rotation of the Earth. Okay, that's a problem there. I've got a problem with the rotation. Okay, desert. Desertification. Goodness, I'm long. Desertification. Desert. Desertification. Oh damn, I can't say it. Anyway, the desert effect. We'll say a lot. Short word. Hey, if you can do better than me, do it. Okay, it's from the wind basically blowing in the same direction over deserts. It keeps to a certain pattern and it keeps blowing the desert and increasing it, making it larger, okay? Killing trees, and making the desert larger over time. And they can actually even calculate desert's growth. It's, quite interesting, I guess. The largest desert in the world, on the planet at the moment, is only 4,300 years old. And so the question you've got to ask is, why is our biggest desert only 4,300 years old? Okay, now that's an interesting question. I think you've got to think about. That fits more of the model of the flood model, biblical model. Why it's only that age? Okay, doesn't fit the evolutionary model because why isn't it really really huge? Okay, doesn't fit millions and millions and billions of years. What about the oldest tree? What about actual, trees? The oldest tree is only 4,300 years old. Again, the question can be raised, why isn't there an older tree? Okay, but that again fits the biblical flood model really well. Doesn't fit the evolutionist model because, well, probably because the evolutionist model is wrong. Come on, let's face it. If it's wrong, it's very easy to find flaws in it. Okay, that's why you don't have to really try really hard. You can find evidence from nearly any science or any observation. Okay, let's go coral reefs. Oh no, we'll go cave formations. Cave formations is good. Stalactites and mites and all that. They're growing. The dripping and all that stuff, the lime, etc. 2.5 inches per 1,000 years. According to evolutionists. According to evolutionists, that's the key. What they actually find is buildings built by people with 13 centimeter ones, and some are formed that are just bigger than a house. Sorry, bigger than like a barn coming out of the ground line, building up. Okay, so it doesn't take thousands of years, basically. So the whole thing of, oh, this takes thousands of years for every, little inch or whatever. Okay, they've got some hanging off people's boots and houses. Okay, so that is a flawed concept there. Cave formations isn't a good way to age anything. Coral reef. Now, one interesting thing is, the largest coral reef in the world, Great Barrier Reef, is only they actually go and look at it, and they look at how fast does coral grow, and using the assumptions that it's not changing too much or anything. The reef's only about 4,200 years old, and again that fits the flood model scenario again. So deserts and trees and coral reefs all fit the flood model timeline. Doesn't fit the evolutionist billions of years or anything, or millions of years. Okay, it doesn't fit any of that. Okay, doesn't even fit hundreds of thousands of years. So there's some interesting natural observations you can make that should really be a flaw there. What about Niagara Falls? Charles Lyell looked at this and, yeah, tried to say it took 10,000 years to do this, whatever. Anyway, erosion seems to be around 4.7 feet per year. Canadians, I think, are observing. Since 1764, it's eroded 865 feet, and that's in 185 years. Okay? If the Earth is millions of years old, why hasn't it eroded further? Okay, that's a question. If it's millions of years old, why is it only in the thousands of years bracket of erosion? Okay, it's only showing erosion to be around 8,426 years. But remember, if there was a flood, all those things would have been sped up. Okay, so that 8,000 years isn't necessarily even accurate at all. But even going by current rates, etc., it's only showing about 8,000 years. It's not showing millions of years of erosion. Okay, so there's a problem there for evolutionists. Again, erosion itself. Okay, what about oil pressure? Okay, some scientists know all about that when they're digging wells, that the oil pressure gets up to about 20,000 psi in some wells. Okay, it's really high pressure stuff. The rock, though, can only hold the oil without cracking and letting the oil out for less than 10,000 years in the conditions. So there's a problem there, oil pressure. Why, how come we've still got oil and all this sort of stuff, and under the pressure, if it's more than, if it can only, estimated can only handle the pressure for 10,000 years before it crumbles, why is there still oil? Why we still got it? Okay, so there's a problem there. Oil pressure is a real big problem for evolutionists as well. Okay, ice core samples. Okay, ice core samples. They used to think the ice core samples were annually. Okay, changing seasons or annually, but it's actually any change in temperature causes ice layers in ice core samples. So ice core sampling is an effective measure of dating, but the actual thickness is, okay, how much laid down is they can use. Okay, there's only really enough ice depth to account for 4,000 years. Okay, I don't know how they work that out, so I'm not even going to bother. Okay. Now, I think a more interesting one is the salt levels in the sea. Oceans today are 6.3% salt, which can happen in way less than 5,000 years to get to that state. Okay, so that's interesting. It fits the flood model again. If we use the assumption that there was absolutely no salt in the sea to begin with, okay, and all the salt was on the land based and it's been, washed down into it. So if there was absolutely no salt, how old is the sea? Like, going by the rate of salt. Using present methods rates of the salt going into the ocean can't be any older than 62 million years. Okay, again, that doesn't fit the evolutionist time frame, and of course, yeah, the Bible, it doesn't fit the Bible's 7,000 years. But remember, we're only using the assumptions evolutionists make when they're doing their dating. Okay, if we were going by the Bible, we would say it was the flood. Okay, the flood caused all that, so it happened in a year, not 2 million years old. But going by just salt levels, there's not enough time. Evolutionists need the oceans to be at least 3 billion years old. Okay, it's not even 62 million years old. Going by salt rates. There's lots of assumptions. You must assume the salt had no salt in it to begin with if you're going for that. But what happens if God made it salty, a sea with salt water when He created it? Okay, there's lots of assumptions. It would be much younger. If the rate it changed at some point, more salt added or less salt added for some reason, dating method would be inaccurate as well. And if there was a global flood 4,000 years ago, 4,500 years ago, there would be huge amounts dumped into the ocean. Okay, so that would have changed everything as well. Okay, next thing, what about erosion of the land? Now, erosion is a big problem as well. 24 billion tons of sediment is removed each year into the sea. At this rate, North America would be leveled in 10 million years. So if the present is the key to the past, like what geology tries to use, North America would have, in the first 10 million years, when it was off out of the ocean, whatever, it would have been leveled just by erosion rates. Okay, we shouldn't see North America. Okay, we should not see it at all if the Earth is really old. Evolutionists claim North America is about 2.5 billion years old, but erosion rates don't account for that. Can't account for that. Assumption. We've got to make an assumption that there's a constant erosion rates. That's the assumption we do have to make. Okay. Current rates of erosion say the continents would have, all the continents would have eroded in 14 million years. So it's funny how we have continents still, okay? So 14 million years, we shouldn't have any continents at all. That should all be in the water. So that could, but what evolutionists are telling us, though, about the continents, which is funny, is that some of the rocks on the continents are 300 times older than that, and are still above the sea level. So they're saying the rocks are 300 times older than 14 million years, okay, and so the erosion only takes 14 million years to get rid of them layers. There's a big flaw there. Big flaw in the dating methods, okay? Doesn't fit observational science. What about the oldest writing systems in the world? Mesopotamian cuneiform is only 3,200 BC, okay, about 5,000 years old. Okay, so that's the oldest dating system. That's interesting. It's not millions of years or anything crazy. So by archaeology and writing systems, it's thousands. Okay, what about the Chinese calendar? It's 4,000. They say it's 4,700 years old. They say they started it before the flood with Noah. Okay, that's where they think they got it from. Yeah, so anyway, that's the food for thought. Because there's multiple ways to date the Earth. Calculate. You can use historic records, calendars. If we haven't got that, when we're going back millions of years, you've got to use other ones. What about comparing something to a similar age? Well, that's a problem, isn't it, when you go back in time too far? What about measuring the rate of some process? The amount of the product that the process produces. This is one which mostly is used. And working out how long it would take to produce that amount of product after the rate of production. That's generally how a lot of dating systems work. But all these methods, okay, no matter which method you use, you have to make assumptions. And assumptions are things that we believe that can't be proven. Okay. Radiometric dating method is one of them. The radioactive decay uses the radioactive radium decays into lead theory. The rate can be measured how fast that happens. You have to measure the amount in the rocks to determine the age of the rock, the ratio. Okay, so the assumptions though on that one are there was no lead in the rock, it was all uranium. Okay, the other one assumption you would have to make for that one is the rate has to remain constant, and other assumptions, there's been no escape of lead or uranium from the rock. Okay, and all these have a real big problem to do with conditions. A global flood would greatly increase the age of the rocks, okay, and cause the ratios to be completely altered. So there's a big problem there. So you can't really go, if you have to make so many assumptions, you can't really say it's proof or scientific fact, can you? So yeah, that's one of them they use. What about the universe, age of the universe? There's a lot of people go, well, what about the age of the universe? You know, that could prove God created the heavens and the earth, okay, in 6 days. Okay, what about the universe itself? There's some big problems with that as well for evolutionists. Jupiter's cooling off rapidly, okay? Because it's cooling off rapidly, it can't be billions of years old. Okay, some real calculations there about its cooling effect. Jupiter's moon, called Ganymede, I don't really know how to say it. Anyway, it has a really strong magnetic field, And magnetic fields are generated by liquid motion of the molten metal inside, okay, inside a body. So, if it's billions of years old, it should have cooled. Okay, so it hasn't cooled. So there's a real big problem there. Again, can't be old. Okay, what about Saturn's rings? Saturn's rings are expanding and moving away from the planet. They can't be old. Okay, it's a big problem there. The moon's gravitational pull. Here's a big problem for our, just thinking about the moon's gravitational pull. Okay, if you made a further distance from where it is now, it would be 9 times greater on its gravitational pull, making the tides really higher. Now it's a real big problem for life on Earth there. Okay. Another one in the universe problems. Comets. They're losing material, you know, and have a life expectancy of less than 10,000 years. But we still have comets out there. There should be no comets. Okay, so and I know there's this guy's theory that there's a big area where all the comets live and they get replenished from this guy's theory. They're all way out there in space somewhere, a big massive group of these things, and every now and then they get replenished and they new ones come from that big massive, I think Oates or some weird, I can't remember his name, Oates or Ot or anyway he had this big comet theory out there. Really nice, isn't it, that you can't prove that theory just because you can't account for comets. Why are there still comets in a old universe? So cosmic dust is an interesting one. Why is there cosmic dust? Because the gravitational pull of the sun should have cleaned up most of the cosmic dust in our solar system. But yay, there's lots of cosmic dust. Still landing on the moon, still landing on the Earth. Okay, why is the cosmic dust still there when we've got this giant Hoover vacuum cleaner called the sun sucking it in? But no, still cosmic dust. Okay, so the gravitational pull should have cleared up most of that, and yeah, comets is a big problem. I think it doesn't really matter which area you study, you start finding that ages are wrong. Okay, so Bible, you can believe it, it's good.